Alright gamers, this video is going to be a little different because I usually do not do this kind of stuff that's outside the actual game. In this case, it's a breakdown of the artifact mods going into Season of the Wish. But I make an exception here because the mods for this are actually bananas. Like, this might be the best artifact we have ever gotten in terms of just like raw power creep and just silly perks that are going to work really well with a ton of things in the game. So with that being said, I wanted to go over this just to kind of point out the things that I think are busted and the things that people should go for going to the season, and then whether you want to like bounty prep going for this. So let's get started right now. Quickly, I'm going to go over the weapon mods that are for this season and what I think of it. Anti-barrier sidearm, don't care. I don't really think that's a good one. Unstoppable hand cannon is great. I think it's S tier. Unstoppable bow, I think, is just terrible. In my opinion, if I want an unstoppable bow, I can just use Levy's Breath. I think Overload bow is just the best one to use for bows. I don't like the other ones. Overload auto rifle is fine. Overload pulse rifle is also fine. Not fantastic, but it's fine. And the Overload rocket launcher, I don't really understand. Like, why would you want to shoot a rocket launcher at an enemy to stun it and then do proper damage? So that one doesn't really stand out to me. But we're not going to be talking about the weapons here. Let's move on. So we're going to go from column to column in order, and the first one we're going to be talking about here is Kindling Trigger. Radiant causes solar weapons to apply Scorch to unscorched targets. This is just great for any solar build overall. You just throw on a weapon, and then use your solar weapon to apply Scorch to whatever you want, and those Scorches will eventually turn into Ignitions. So this is just a great overall like general mod for a solar build. Then we have Blast Radius. Rapid final blows with rocket launchers. You're not going to do that. And grenade launchers grant armor charges. This literally just screams forbearance at me. You get free armor charges with just spamming forbearance, which also gives you heals on top of that as well. So it's a great mod. Then we're going to go scrolling down into the final one in column 2, which is From Whence You Came, which I think is going to be absolutely insane if the dungeon in this season is going to be on the Dreaming City or is Taken/Scorn based, because it says increased ability damage to Taken and Scorn combatants. This means Banner of War, Gathering Storm, even just Arc Hunter punches, and I'm sure there's other plenty of good things to use ability-wise that would benefit greatly from this. So it's kind of nuts. The next one is also a great general mod starting in column 3. Flint Striker, Rapid Final Blows, or Rapid Solar Weapon Precision Hits grant you Radiant. This is great for a ton of weapons. You have things like Fixed Odds, Vex Mythoclast, Explosive Personality, any solar bow, especially Tiku's, just land your precision hits, and you get instant Radiant. I think, again, this is going to be fantastic going in with literally any solar build. Next, right under that, you have Torch. While Radiant, deal increased weapon damage to combatants affected by Strand and Stasis debuffs. Now, at first glance, you might be thinking, well, what do you mean Radiant plus Strand or Stasis? But there's obviously things in the game that can bypass this. For example, you have Conditional Finality, which is Stasis and Solar built into one. And you have, obviously, Strand weapons as well that you could be putting this into as a combo. And don't forget, you also have the Navigator from Ghosts of the Deep. That'll just give you an instant Strand debuff for free, and then you have bonus weapon damage. Next up is Heart of the Flame, which I think a few people are sleeping on right now and don't realize the stupid impact this is going to have. So casting your Solar Super grants nearby allies Radiant and increases the damage of your super for each ally nearby. So think of this in a raid scenario, or even a dungeon scenario, and think of Golden Gun. You're going to cast your Solar Golden Gun Super. I'm going to play a clip right now on the screen for you guys to see the example. This is before the changes coming to next season. And then you're going to get Radiant and then increase the damage of your super for each ally nearby. So 5 allies. And then your allies could also use Golden Gun to get free super damage buff out of that. And the damage overall is going to actually go through the roof and nuke bosses into the ground instantly. Obviously, there's going to be other solar supers you can abuse with this, for example, like Burning Maul with Pyrogale, but Golden Gun, specifically, is already a problem with this, and now this is going to actually make it, like, tier 0 power creep, I think. So this mod is absolutely insane for hunters. You should absolutely unlock it as fast as possible. Moving on to column 4, we have Revitalizing Blast. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Revitalizing Blast used to do something completely different. It used to make ignitions pop up when you stun champions or throw your solar ability at them, and they've changed it now to, I believe, what was previously Withering Heat, I believe. So now it says causing damage with a solar ability, weakens champions and bosses for a short duration. Again, for solo play specifically, and also solo players, this is huge because you get an instant free weaken debuff on a champion or a boss. So for example, the new dungeon you're going to be going in to get your solo flawless, just using your solo ability on the bosses will give you a free weaken, so you don't have to run something like tractor cannon when you're solo. Moving on to Dragon's Bite. Now, this one is also another little sleeper pick, I think. It's not going to break the game or anything, but it is super helpful if you read between the lines. So this says, breaking a combatant shield with a strand or stasis weapon has a chance to suspend or freeze that combatant. And then wearing seasonal armor for Season of the Wish also increases its chance. So again, here you can use things like Agar Scepter, Conditional Finality, Navigator, or just any strand or stasis weapon, and you have a chance to suspend or freeze targets just for free, basically. Alright, we're in column 5, the final one now. In this column, I think there's going to be 3 mods that are great, and then 2 of them are just super busted in general. Let's get into the one that's pretty good but not game-breaking first. Razor Precision, while radiant, solar final blows cause combatants to ignite. This is great for just any activity where there's lots of enemy density, on champions, even on bosses, because ignitions do a good chunk of damage. So you just kill one enemy with a solar precision final blow, you know, Vex Mythic class, Sunshot, whatever your solar weapon may be, your favorite of the week. And then, boom, everything just explodes around it, knocking everything away. And if a boss or a champion are nearby, then you will do a good chunk of damage on them as well. And also ignition stun unstoppable champions, so maybe you just stun them in the process with that too. Very good mod, in my opinion. Then we move on to the final 2, which are insanely busted, I think. Solo Operative, which is a previous mod that we had maybe a year ago, maybe a little longer. I think it was for Spire the Watcher, if I remember correctly. So this mod, while you are the only member of your fire team, you deal increased damage to all combatants. This is a flat 15% damage buff to solo players just in the dungeon or anywhere. So with the new dungeon coming out and you're going for your solo flawless, this will give you a free 15% extra damage buff for free. Finally, we have Argent Ordinance. I think this perk, if it works the way I think it is going to be really, really game-breaking in this season. So, it says firing a rocket launcher consumes 1 stack of armor charge, and it grants you increased damage and reload speed until you reload or store your rocket. So, the way I'm reading this is, I think it'll take your first armor charge when you fire your first rocket, and then it won't take any more until you have to reload and store your rocket and then start shooting again. So it won't just take, you know, all 3 armor charges from you if you fire 3 rockets in a row. Now, if that's how it's going to work, and maybe it doesn't, I could be wrong, I'm just speculating. If it does work this way, then you have things like bipod rockets, or rockets that have reconstruction, or MS Assassin, where you can load up like 6 rockets with Cold Comfort and have them on the ready to shoot in a row back to back to back to get this 15, 20, 25% buff, whatever it may be. Also, you have this thing called Radiant Dance Machines on Hunters, which I did a video for, by the way, for a build and nuking raid bosses before this even comes out. Check those out. Hashtag ad. Then you have Radiant Dance Machines. If those don't qualify as a reload, you can just spam 6 rockets in a row and then use Radiant Dance Machines to spam the rest of your rockets for free, and all of them will get this damage buff. So think like Solo Operative plus this, plus From Whence You Came, plus whatever else you can think of as a buff or a debuff on an enemy, and this is just gonna go nuclear on any boss. So that is it. That is the artifact for this season, for Season of the Wish. I think it is bonkers and legitimately might be the most game-breaking, power-crept artifact overall that we've had since artifact mods were introduced into the game. Let me know what you guys think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you like my picks? Or maybe disagree on some of them? Or do you think I skip some? That'll be really good for this season. Let me know how and why in the comments below. Also, if you want to support the channel, consider subscribing today. It does help the channel. It's much appreciated and helps fight that YouTube algorithm. Also, if you don't know what to comment, just leave artifact as a comment below to help the channel. Alright, that's all I got for you guys. Enjoy. Let me know what you think. And I'll catch you next time.